A gift stolen through envy always demands a greater sacrifice.
A sister was consumed by jealousy because of her sister's voice. Watch until the end, because this story takes a shocking turn you'll never see coming.
Of the sun!
The first time Adanya cried as a baby, something impossible happened. The dry cassava plants behind her parents' hut suddenly became green again. The old women of the village looked at one another in silence. "This child is blessed," one whispered. "The river itself has kissed her voice." From that day onward, everyone knew Adanya was no ordinary child. As she grew older, her songs became miracles. Whenever she sang at sunrise, the farms produced healthy crops. When children fell sick, her gentle melodies calmed their fever. Even wounded animals stood up after hearing her voice. People traveled from distant villages just to hear Adanya sing. Some brought gifts, some brought food. Others simply knelt and thanked God for sending such a child. But while everyone celebrated Adanya, one person watched with growing hatred: her younger sister, Zola. The sisters could not have been more different. Adanya was kind, humble, and always smiling. She shared everything she had. If she received 10 yams, she gave 5 away. If someone insulted her, she answered with kindness. The villagers loved her not only because of her gift, but because of her heart. Zola, however, hated being compared to her. Everywhere she went, people spoke about Adanya. "Look at Adanya. Be gentle like Adanya. Sing like your sister." Even their parents sometimes said, "Why can't you learn from your elder sister?" Each word became another stone inside Zola's heart. At first, she only felt jealous. Soon, jealousy became anger. Then, anger became hatred. One evening, the sisters returned from the river carrying water. An elderly woman stopped them. "My granddaughter has been sick for 3 days." She begged, "Please, Adanya, sing for her." Adanya smiled warmly, of course. She walked into the woman's hut. Minutes later, a soft melody floated into the air. The sound was unlike anything human. Birds gathered on the roof. The wind became gentle. The crying child slowly opened her eyes. Her fever disappeared. Outside, people clapped joyfully. "Praise the ancestors. Our blessed singer has done it again." Zola stood alone behind a tree. Nobody noticed her. Nobody thanked her for carrying the heavy water pots. Nobody even looked in her direction. She squeezed the clay pot so tightly it cracked in her hands. "I hate you," she whispered under her breath. "I hate every song you sing." That night, Zola could not sleep. She stared at the roof while hearing villagers singing Adanya's praises outside. Then she remembered an old story. When they were children, their grandmother had warned them. There is a place where the river bends into black water. No one must ever go there. A water spirit lives beneath that river. It grants impossible wishes. But every gift has a terrible price. At the time, the sisters laughed. Now Zola smiled. Maybe the story was true. The next evening, she secretly left the village. She walked through thick forest. The birds became silent. The air grew colder. Even insects stopped making sounds. After hours of walking, she reached the forbidden river. Its water was black as oil. No fish swam there. No frogs croaked. The surface was perfectly still. The moon reflected on it like polished glass. Zola's heart raced. She almost turned back. Then she remembered everyone praising Adanya again. Her jealousy became stronger than her fear. She stepped closer. "I know you're here," she called. "I have come to make a bargain." Nothing happened. She waited. Still silence. A single ripple appeared in the center of the river. Another followed, then another. The water began to swirl by itself. Cold mist rose into the air. A strange humming echoed from beneath the surface. Slowly, a woman made entirely of flowing water rose from the river. Her hair moved like seaweed. Her eyes glowed blue. Her smile was beautiful, yet terrifying. "You have called me," the spirit said. "What does your heart desire?" Zola swallowed hard. "I don't want riches. I don't want beauty. I don't even want power." The water spirit tilted her head. "What?" Then, Zola's eyes burned with envy. "I want my sister's voice." The river suddenly became silent. Even the wind stopped. The spirit stared at her for a long moment before laughing. Not with joy, with hunger. "You ask for another person's blessing. You know the price will be great." "I don't care. I'll pay anything." The water spirit floated closer until her face was inches away. "No, you will not pay anything. You will pay exactly what your heart deserves." The spirit touched Zola's chest with a finger made of water. "I will give you your sister's voice, but in return, you will never feel warmth again. No love, no joy, no comfort. The sun will never warm your skin. A mother's embrace will feel like stone. A child's laughter will sound empty. And every day, your heart will grow colder." Zola hesitated, only for a moment. Then she smiled. "As long as everyone loves my voice, I accept." The water spirit stretched out a hand. The river exploded into towering waves. Blue lights surrounded Zola. The water began whispering thousands of forgotten songs. One by one, the whispers entered her mouth. Far away in the village, Adanya suddenly woke from her sleep to try to call for her mother. But no sound came out. Only silence. Back at the river, Zola opened her mouth. Without thinking, she sang a single note. The trees instantly froze. Leaves turned white with frost. The river spirit smiled. The bargain has begun. The next morning, something was terribly wrong. Adanya woke before sunrise, just as she always did. Every morning, she stood outside her parents' hut and sang to welcome the new day. But this time, she opened her mouth. Nothing. Not even a whisper. Confused, she tried again. Still nothing. Fear filled her eyes. She ran to her mother, desperately pointing to her throat. Her mother smiled at first. "Are you teasing me this early in the morning?" Adanya shook her head frantically. Tears rolled down her cheeks. Only then did her mother realize her daughter could no longer speak. The family's cries echoed through the village. People gathered outside the hut. The village healer examined Adanya carefully. He checked her throat. He mixed herbs. He prayed. Hours passed. Finally, the old healer lowered his head. "There is nothing physically wrong with her. The problem is not in her body. It is in her spirit." The villagers looked at one another in fear. No one understood, except one person, standing quietly at the back of the crowd. Zola, she lowered her face to hide the smile slowly spreading across her lips. The bargain had worked. At least, that was what she believed. That evening, something unbelievable happened. As Zola sat alone outside her hut, she began humming. The melody sounded familiar. She stopped immediately. Her heart pounded. Slowly, she sang again. The voice that came out was breathtaking. It was Adanya's voice. The exact same voice. Rich, gentle, powerful. For a moment, Zola laughed with excitement. I finally have it. I finally have what everyone loved. She ran toward the village square. Everyone, come and hear me sing. Curious villagers gathered around. Many were still grieving for Adanya. Perhaps they thought hearing another beautiful song would bring comfort. Zola closed her eyes. She took a deep breath. Then she began to sing. The first note floated through the air like crystal. The villagers gasped. That's Adanya's voice. It sounds exactly like hers. Hope returned to their faces, but only for a few seconds. The warm breeze suddenly disappeared. Dark clouds covered the sky. A freezing wind swept across the farms. Children began shivering. Flowers closed their petals. Green leaves slowly turned white with frost. The beautiful song became frightening. Every note carried cold instead of life. The villagers screamed, "Stop singing! Please stop!" Zola panicked. She tried to stop, but the song continued pouring out of her mouth. The stronger she sang, the stronger the icy wind became. Suddenly, sea hurried. Scruple denying us, villagers ran for safety. Zola finally forced herself to stop singing. Silence returned. But the damage remained. The once green village looked pale and lifeless. That night, fear spread faster than fire. People whispered outside their homes. The blessing has become a curse. The ancestors are angry. No. An old farmer shook his head. That wasn't Adanya. That was her voice. But it belonged to someone else. Inside her room, Adanya sat quietly by the window. She watched the frozen leaves fall from the trees. Although she could no longer speak, tears rolled down her face. It felt as if part of her soul had been stolen. Far away, at the forbidden river, the water spirit smiled beneath the dark water. The village has only seen the beginning. She lifted one hand. The river rippled. The colder Zola's heart becomes, the stronger the curse will grow. Back in the village, Zola wrapped herself in 3 thick blankets. She shivered uncontrollably. No, it's too cold. She rushed closer to the fireplace. The flames burned brightly. Yet she felt nothing, not even a little warmth. She stretched both hands into the fire's heat. Still, nothing. The water spirit's warning echoed inside her mind. You will never feel warmth again. For the first time, Zola became afraid. She whispered, "What have I done?" Outside, dark clouds gathered above the village once more. And somewhere beyond the forest, an old blind woman slowly walked toward the village with a carved walking stick. She suddenly stopped. She lifted her head toward the wind. Then she smiled sadly. I can hear it. Childhood voices crying. She continued walking. The thief still believes she has won. But every stolen gift always finds its way home. The old blind woman arrived just before sunrise. The frozen village fell silent as she slowly walked through the empty streets, tapping her carved staff against the ground. She could not see with her eyes, yet somehow, she knew exactly where everyone stood. The villagers gathered around her. One elder stepped forward. "Mother, can you save our village?" The old woman tilted her head. "I cannot save what people refuse to confess." She stopped walking, then pointed directly towards Zola. "The stolen voice is standing among you." Gasps filled the village. Zola's heart pounded. She forced herself to laugh. "Old woman, you're blind. You don't even know who you're pointing at." The old woman smiled gently. "My eyes are blind, but voices have their own light." She turned toward Adanya, and hers has been trapped inside another soul. The crowd stepped back in shock. Everyone looked at Zola. She suddenly felt the icy cold growing stronger inside her body. Her fingers trembled. Her lips turned pale. "No. You are lying." The old woman calmly raised her walking stick. "If the voice truly belongs to you, sing. Not for praise, not for power, but for someone else's life." She called a frightened little boy forward. The child had collapsed from the freezing cold. His breathing was weak. The villagers watched anxiously. "Sing," the old woman repeated. "If your heart carries kindness, the village will bloom again." Zola swallowed. She closed her eyes. Then she began to sing. The voice was beautiful, more beautiful than ever before. But as the melody spread, the ground froze harder. Ice climbed the huts. The little boy began shivering violently. Sharp crystals of ice formed in the air like broken glass. The villagers cried out, "Stop! Please stop!" Zola desperately tried to change the song. She thought of happiness. Nothing happened. She thought of her family. Nothing changed. She thought of Adanya. Only more frost appeared. The old woman sighed. A stolen gift cannot obey a heart filled with envy. Suddenly, the ice began climbing Zola's legs. She screamed. "What is happening?" The old woman answered quietly. "The bargain is collecting its final payment." The freezing spread to Zola's arms. Her breath became white mist. She fell to her knees. The water spirit rose from the nearby river. The entire village watched in horror. Her glowing blue eyes rested on Zola. "You wanted your sister's gift. I gave it to you. You promised your warmth. I have taken it." Zola cried uncontrollably. "I don't want it anymore. Please, take it back." The water spirit's expression remained calm. Nothing stolen is returned without truth. The old blind woman stepped closer. "There is only one path left. You must speak the truth before everyone. You must surrender what was never yours." Zola looked around. Every villager stared at her. Her parents stood in tears. Adanya quietly watched her younger sister. Not with hatred, but with sadness. For the first time in many years, Zola remembered every act of kindness Adanya had shown her. The food she shared, the gifts she gave away, the smiles, the protection, the love she had ignored. Zola broke down. She fell at her sister's feet. "I'm sorry. I hated living in your shadow. I wanted people to love me the way they loved you. So I went to the forbidden river. I asked for your voice. I thought it would make everyone love me. Instead, I destroyed everything." The village became completely silent. A single tear rolled down Adanya's cheek. She gently placed her hand on Zola's shoulder. At that very moment, a warm golden light surrounded the sisters. The beautiful voice slowly rose from Zola, like glowing musical ribbons. It floated through the air and entered Adanya. Adanya gasped. She touched her throat, then softly whispered, "Zola." It was the first word she had spoken in days. The villagers burst into joyful tears. Adanya looked toward the frozen farms. She closed her eyes. Then she began to sing. Her true voice flowed across the village like warm sunshine. The ice melted. The frozen trees blossomed. Flowers bloomed again. Birds returned. The withered crop stood tall once more. Life returned to the land. The water spirit smiled one last time. The balance has been restored. She slowly dissolved into the river, disappearing beneath the calm water. But Zola remained on the ground. The warmth had returned to her body. Yet something inside her had changed forever. She no longer desired praise. She no longer envied her sister. Instead, she spent her days helping the elderly, planting crops, carrying water for widows, and serving the village without asking for recognition. Over time, the villagers forgave her, because they forgot what she had done, but because they saw that her remorse was genuine and her actions had changed. Whenever children asked why the river was never visited after sunset, the elders would simply say, "Never chase another person's gift." The greatest blessings grow from a grateful heart. Life lesson: jealousy can steal your peace before it steals anything else. True happiness is never found by taking another person's gift. It is found by discovering and nurturing your own. A heart filled with gratitude will always shine brighter than a voice gained through envy.
Thank you for watching Sandra African Tales and Folks. Do not forget to subscribe for more interesting stories. Bye!